and welcome if you're new to my channel. If you're a subscriber, a warm welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about ladies' designer shoes and in particular giving recommendations of some of the best brands in the market in terms of quality and comfort. I'm Anesu Sagonda and I manage a luxury lifestyle management business here in London. My content is largely educationally focused and geared towards people who are typically new to money or keen to explore alternate mid-lux or super brands that are a little under the radar but still very much weighted on quality. As I mentioned, in this video I'm going to be talking about ladies' designer shoes and recommending some of the best brands. A good chunk of my clients, men and women, are corporates. And what I find with the women who use my personal shopping service is the one item they buy the most of is shoes. And the first question I get invariably is always, what do you recommend? Based on quality, based on comfort. And there are a number of brands that particularly stand out, largely from my own experience, but also feedback from clients, from other stylists, from sales assistants, and even the brands. And I want to try and talk through those and at least help anyone who's about to buy designer shoes, either a first-time purchase or somebody who is building their collection, to bring in shoes that have got longevity, they're comfortable, and also very good quality. I'm going to kick off with an Italian brand that's been in existence for a little under 10 years, but in the last 3 years in particular, it has risen to prominence and we're starting to see a lot more of it. It literally stomped its way to the front of the fashion pack as major celebrities started wearing this particular brand. And these are celebrities whose wardrobes are watched by the world over. And one in particular was Meghan Markle. Once she was engaged to Prince Harry and started attending official functions, Aquazzura shoes very quickly became a staple in her wardrobe. They're very simple, understated, elegant shoes with a little je ne sais quoi to them. So for example, a court shoe, a suede court shoe would have mesh panels, which just adds a little something to them. They haven't done that much, but the little they've done has been very effective. But what I particularly like about these shoes, and all the shoes I'm going to recommend, the other brands in this particular video, is that the quality, they're very well made, the finish, the look of the shoe, and also the comfort. And in particular, Aquazzura, they are the cheapest in terms of entry level. They started around £450 entry level. But the sole on all the shoes is the same. I have a pair of sandals, which I'm going to use as an example. This is one of the iconic pairs of shoes, and you'll see this repeated every season in different colors, but they do have classic colors like the gold, silver, and the black. And what I really like about them, and I wanted to point out, is firstly the sole. The sole is just one sole the whole way through, but the quality of it, it's a very, very good sole. It's robust, it's relatively thicker than the other shoes. But what I like is that it's bulletproof in terms of if you're walking on a gritty surface, a cobbled surface, it's still very comfortable. It buffers that very well. And secondly, you will not get any water through this. I have walked on surfaces that are wet, not just wet, but damp and very wet, and my shoe has not soaked through. But it's something that I've noticed with other brands, for example, Malone Soulier, Jimmy Choo, they have fairly thin soles. So when you walk on a wet surface in the rain, even if it's very quick, your shoes typically will soak through. And an example, I have these Jimmy Choo court shoes. I don't know if my camera will be able to pick up this subtly, but this is a water stain. And what happened is that it was raining and I walked through literally from a car into a building and I could feel the inside actually start to get a little wet. But with this, you're not going to have that issue. The other thing I would like to point out is, apart from just the very good sole and how robust it is the cushioning. You cannot tell because it's so well made and it's flat. But with high heels, what makes them uncomfortable is the positioning of the shoe, how sharp the arch is. And so when your foot comes down in this, they have got some really, really good padding going on in this shoe, which you can't feel because it's so well made. You can't even see it. But the padding is very good. And when you wear these shoes, even for fairly long periods of time, let's say I'm standing for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they're still fairly comfortable because this is very soft and it sufficiently pads you. So a big plus. It's a shoe that I really like. It's well made, very comfortable, but just overall, when you look at the finish of it, it's very good. And for $450, compared to the other brands I'm going to talk about, it's an absolute steal. I'm torn when it comes to the next brand, Prada and Miu Miu, and that's because there's such a huge discrepancy between their shoes and their bags. It's a well-known fact that Prada bags are not the best in terms of the quality, in terms of just wear and tear. And what I would recommend is if you're going to have a Prada or Miu Miu handbag, I have many Miu Miu bags, is you wear them sparingly. They're occasion bags, so they come out once in a while. But as a bag that you wear every day, they just don't last very well, and stitches become undone, gluing falls apart. It's just a lot of work to maintain those bags. But the shoes more than redeem the brand. And I remember a number of years ago, I wanted a pair of shoes, these sandals, which are very simple, very basic sandals that pretty much every single brand does a take on them. But these particular ones, after trying so many over the years, I settled on these in a heartbeat, and that's because of just how comfortable they were. They are the perfect balance between the balance of the shoe and also the comfort. They are very skimpy in terms of the stiletto, the very thin straps, but they hold you in very securely, and I felt very comfortable, and their shoes I would highly recommend. But as a brand, they're fantastic. The quality, the finish, they also have the customization service where you're able to customize the heel height you want, the leather or the exotic skin, the fabric that you would like, as well as also add your monogramming to the bottom where you can have your initials added to the bottom. The other thing I really like about Prada shoes, apart from just the quality, is that all repairs, any issues you have with the shoe, they're done free of charge. Absolutely fantastic brand, and I would highly recommend for both sandals, for court shoes. They also do trainers which wear very well and are very comfortable. The other thing I'd like to highlight, as it's quite a big thing, is embellishment on shoes. There are a number of brands. There's a new brand, Amina Mwadi, a very up-and-coming brand that does a lot of embellishments. And it's new to the market, and I know there have been issues in terms of embellishments falling off, things happening with the shoes, but these are teething problems, and with each season, the shoes are getting better and better. But the brand that have got the embellishments right, and they also offer customization service, is Miu Miu, which is part of the Prada group. And I have a number of pairs with the embellishments, and to date, I mean, I have shoes that are between 5 to 10 years old. None of the embellishments have fallen out over time. They are solid, they are bulletproof, and they're very well made, and my shoes last, they're comfortable, they look good, and I actually have not had any issues with a Prada or Miu Miu shoe where I've had to actually take it back. So that's a brand I'd really like you to get on your radar if you don't already have it, because they're great for both formal shoes and also your casual shoes. My next shoe is yet another Italian designer. They pretty much dominate the women's footwear space. It's a brand called Gianvito Rossi, and the designer comes from very good pedigree. His father is Sergio Rossi, who unfortunately died just over a week ago. May his dear soul rest in peace. But Gianvito literally stormed the fashion scene, a bit like Aquazzura, but 5 years ago with a shoe called the Plexi. And the Plexi is a shoe with the plastic at the side, and then it has the patent. I started off with the patent at the front and the back, but they've since developed the shoe. You can get it either in leather or in suede. But this particular shoe, the Plexi, is the one shoe I have bought the most of for all my female clients. Last count, I was on 25. And it's a very comfortable shoe. It's very well made. It's very well balanced. It's a phenomenal all-round shoe, and it's the first shoe I ever bought 2 colors in the same style. I don't think I'll ever repeat that, but that's just because of how comfortable the shoe is, and particularly for this height. What I also like is that it's a very good alternative to the Pigalle. I used to really like this particular Pigalle from Christian Louboutin. I mean, Christian Louboutin is famed for his shoes. Everybody talks about the red bottom, and people aspire to owning their first designer shoe and it being a red bottom. But in all honesty, the red bottom of all the designer shoes, I don't say this lightly, it's the most uncomfortable and not the best made. Their particular shoes fall apart quite quickly. I have had shoes that I've worn a handful of times and the heels have broken. Their repairs are phenomenally expensive. Now you do get cobblers who are able to repair their shoes, but it used to be just one particular cobbler, and he used to capitalize on that. But the shoes, they're not comfortable. Mr. Louboutin knows this. They're not particularly well made. And the Pigalle is the one shoe I really like from Louboutin, and I do miss wearing it, but it's just horrendously uncomfortable. And even when I'm just standing in these shoes, I feel like my ankle is going to snap. They have a very sharp arch, and they just don't work for me. But the best alternative I have found has been this Gianvito Plexi. You also have the option of the black patent, both the back and the front, and also the darker plastic, which means it would be a darker looking shoe and therefore would compete a lot better with the Pigalle. But this still is a very sexy looking shoe, just like the Pigalle. But I highly recommend Gianvito specifically because of, as I said before, the quality, how well made they are, the finish, the look of them, the balance, and just the longevity. I look, for example, this plastic is exactly the same as when I first bought it. It hasn't softened, it hasn't hardened, it's just exactly the same. But in terms of a brand, I would highly recommend this, and it's something I'd like to buy more and more of. Their styles are also fairly simple. They have a handful of styles which they just replicate every season, and that's because they work. The styles are classic, they're very simple but elegant, and they do them in fairly bright colors. It's a very colorful brand. And my final recommendation, I'm going to move away from Italy, and it's a Spanish brand, and it's Manolo Blahnik. I guess I've saved the best for last. When I first discovered designer shoes, 20 years ago when I started my working career, Manolo Blahnik came up on the radar fairly quickly. And a few years later, there was the whole Sex and the City with Carrie and the Hangisi shoe, the navy blue Hangisi when she got married. And that catapulted Manolo onto a whole different level. It was really doing fantastically well, but now it was stratospheric. But Manolo Blahnik shoes are handmade. He focuses very much on attention to detail. So for example, if you look at this particular shoe, it's a shoe that's over 10 years old. It's worn fantastically well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It has not discolored, nothing has frayed, nothing has been lifted. It is as good as it was when I first bought it. But what he has done is, with the heels, you need that padding where the balls hit the foot. And what he's done is he's added this extra bit with the stitching. So it adds to the padding and the added comfort of the shoe. And then he's got quite a bit of padding on the inside. But in terms of just the quality, the construction, the attention to detail, the comfort, the balance, it's second to none. And as an all-round shoe, where I look at all the variables I'd consider when recommending a shoe, then it's Manolo Blahnik. The styles are very simple, very colorful. He does a lot of color. He has, again, a handful of designs like Gianvito Rossi, and he just repeats those over the seasons, does different colors, different heel heights, different fabrics, and customers will typically wear their shoes during their during their entire adult life, and they'll just replace the shoes when they want something different, they want a different take. But in terms of just a well-made shoe with great balance, for both casual, for formal, for weddings, for occasions, then Manolo Blahnik is a great one-stop shop. I've given you 4 brands, and in a later video I'll give you another 3, possibly 4 brands. But these are brands that are phenomenal in terms of the quality, the construction of the shoe, the comfort. They've been able to strike a very good balance. And I'd highly recommend for both casual and also smart. Starting prices, for example, for your Gianvito and Manolo are around $550 going on $600 for Gianvito Rossi. But it's well worth it because the shoe is going to last a very long time. Provided you look after it, you could keep it for your entire adult life and pass it on to your children, for example. That's how well made they are. The comfort is second to none. But as always, if you have any further questions or you'd like any other information, do let me know and I can send through the relevant information. Otherwise, thank you for watching as always. Don't forget to subscribe and see you soon. Stay safe.